Hello everyone, I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled Galactic Download with Indigo Angel. You can find her at indigoangel222.com and also here on YouTube at Indigo Angel. Amanda, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
I am doing so good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Actually, you honor me with all of your amazing knowledge, and I'm sure my audience is also excited for this show here today. Every time you're on, everybody's like, whoa, okay, that was deep. People have to take a day or two to absorb what you just said and bring it back. But what I'm noticing every time we do these shows, more and more people are following us throughout the episode. Whereas before we had 90% of the people saying, what is she talking about? And then it was like 70%, 50%, 30%. So we're getting there. We're moving the needle. So thank you so much, Amanda, for being here today. Quite a bit of a show here today. Well, how do I say this? I'm interested in this topic because you and I have talked about this on our past shows because those episodes were deleted, but it's all the concept of grid keeping. So what are grid keepers? What are the grids? So we're going to have that conversation with you guys here, folks, today on our live interactive show. If you do have questions for Amanda as we go, please put them in high caps. It's a little bit easier for me to pick up during these live streams. Oh, and speaking of live streams, we are live streaming today for the first time also from Indigo's channel. So if you guys are watching on Indigo's channel, please come over here on BeyondMystic, my third backup channel here, and subscribe to us as well, because we have a lot of great content for you guys. And vice versa, if you're watching here, please do go and subscribe here to Indigo Angel's YouTube channel. All right, so I have the notes page set up for the audience as well here. I cut and paste for you guys. Let me bring this up on the screen for you guys here. What we typically do for these episodes so that people can follow us along. We have to refresh. I think there was a link. Okay, now it's added, the Lake Michigan. Okay, Indigo, let's take it away. There's a lot of material to go through here today. Where do you want to start?
Well, thank you for having me. That was such a lovely introduction. So full of energy. I feel like you really kind of blew through the 9-9 portal, I must say. Very high vibrational. So yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, basically we're going to dive into some of the grid aspects of things today and kind of go over just an introductory of what is grid keeping overall. So for some of those that are watching that may not actually kind of like understand what is grid keeping. And then we're going to kind of dive into some of the topics I've been recently talking about on my channel, which is kind of focusing on the dissension grids and the grid cell programs and a lot of the magnetic field tampering that's happening in the United States. Specifically, just kind of focusing on that to kind of narrow in some land perimeters to kind of discuss some of the quantum functionings of those things. But of course, this is happening internationally. This is happening globally. This is happening all over the world. It's connected to multi-functioning planetary mechanics of multiple different types of systems that feed into different types of, gate systems, black hole, worm systems, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So yes. So grid keeping.
Hey, hold on just a second here. Before maybe we get into the actual topic, there's a first question here and it relates to one of your last videos. So why don't we tackle this first question here and then we'll get into the subject matter for today. And folks, give us a little bit of time here to lay down some track and then you can ask some more questions as we go along. But Siobhan is asking this question. So let's try to answer that. She says, Indigo, can you elaborate on the connection between the Ascension symptoms and the radiation symptoms that you mentioned in your last update, please?
Yes, I can. So basically ascension symptoms kind of mirror the magnetic field being broken down. Okay, they kind of mirror those types of happenings or symptoms that you would have if your magnetic field is being tampered with, essentially. And so it does parallel, those symptoms very much parallel electromagnetic frequency radiation and inundation of that biochemical warfare on the biology. And so that was one thing that I really noticed living in Denver, Colorado, because I was at such a high elevation and I was very, very sensitive to energy. I consider myself, 12D activated, indigo child, very, very sensitive to chemicals, very, very sensitive to negative forces of energy and things like this, like it definitely very mumuch physically impacts my bioenergetic field. That would, really takes me out if I get, hit with something. Like if I remember, I got into some sort of, argument with like family and things like this. Like I ended up getting the flu after that. Like it was intense. So anything that kind of comes in my energy field that is, of a low vibration or a low field frequency, it really impacts the biology. So living in Denver, being at that high elevation, I noticed that my Ascension symptoms were very much mirroring radiation symptoms and things like this. So, overall feeling like you kind of have the flu. It's like the Ascension flu, where you feel like you can't really eat that well. You feel like you have kind of like a low-grade fever at times. You spend a lot of time sleeping. You have a lot of fatigue, things like this. So that very much mirrors and represents the fluctuation of going from, integrating such ultra spectrum frequency, but then also dipping down into the low frequency spectrum and kind of integrating that dark matter light, that dark pre-matter light as well, and your body having to really actually, work through the integration of those processes. And so it just is exacerbated overall, I feel, and it very much mirrors and parallels those types of radiation symptoms.
Okay, there's quite a few people in the chat saying, yeah, I'm going through this right now too. And Smiling Eyes and Libby was saying, yeah, there's a lot of energy, especially since yesterday or the day before. Let's speak about that too. You just said, hey, I blew through the 9-9 really quickly. Just maybe explain that to the audience so they understand here what we're talking about, what just happened and why there's this frequency upgrade maybe that a lot of people are feeling here on the show today.
Well, every time we go through like a portal, we are exposed to a higher level of stellar frequency, stellar integration of cosmic radiation. These are smaller portals that we go through, like the 9-9 portal and things like this, that, they represent shifts going through astrological shifts and planetary astrological shifts as we integrate new cosmic systems. But they also represent on a greater level, when we get to those greater markers of things like the winter solstice, the summer solstice, and things like that, we're going to have a much greater influx of that energy. And then also the Schumann resonance as well. It's kind of like a thinning of the veil. And so you actually experience the impact of the frequency of the Schumann resonance as a much higher level of degree, basically.
Okay, very well said. And just to finish on that topic again, the supplemental from Siobhan here is, how do we deal with these symptoms? Or what are you doing to deal with these symptoms? How can we help the audience here?
Well, if you're having really, really intense Ascension symptoms, you want to definitely detox. You want to refrain from anything in terms of chemicals. You want to refrain from anything, a lot of us, when we get to this level, like things like meat and stuff like this become very, you can't do it because you're so sensitive to energy. You can literally feel the suffering on the meat. You can smell the chemicals when you walk down the chemical aisle in the grocery store. You can't even go down that aisle, things like this. So if you're having these severe types of symptoms, you definitely want to detox. You want to drink lots of water. Your body will even naturally prompt you to start fasting if you're at that level. And it comes in because it wants to get rid of all of the toxins and the chemicals in the body. Your body naturally is telling you what it needs to do and wants to do. So the number one thing you really need to do is listen to your intuition. Your intuition's telling you exactly what you need to do, but you can assist it by listening to it, but also doing things like detoxing, taking detox baths. That was one thing I started doing, was taking Epsom salt and Himalayan salt and borax baths. They're kind of like a nano detox that you can do, and it helps just alleviate the body. And getting outside, getting in nature, grounding. If you have too much on your plate in terms of things you have going on in your life, you really want to simplify that as much as possible. Like take everything off that is just like inundating you, that's causing you to have, where you can't just focus on your state of being. And in those moments, your state of being becomes your priority. And putting yourself first. Stop putting everybody else first. Stop running around doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Just really take the time to listen to yourself and give yourself what you need.
I'm not sure if you and I talked about this, but I've talked about this on many other shows where I was guided 3 months ago to pay way, way more attention to the body. So you know how you say mind, body, spirit, that triune. I was doing okay with the mind and spirit. I was happy with the progress I was doing, but my body was lagging behind here. So I was getting that cue from universe: do your detox, work out more, be outside in nature, meditate more, go outside in the sun, get that direct transfer of information from the sun, all of these things. And so anyways, for everybody watching the show, these are all great suggestions here to maybe enhance the vehicle in which your soul is traveling right now, because it's going to be hit with all of these new energies, and for you to be able to hold them and also transmute them towards the objective of your life mission. The higher you can hold the frequency, the more you can achieve. So really working on the body right now to increase its capability, closest maybe to its original design, because we're all behind the 8-ball, like Indigo just said here, all of these chemicals, the foods, the air, and all of that. So we need to try to detox as best we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to say also, it's not a race and it's not a competition. Like, don't compare yourself to other spiritual people that are, it might seem like they just have it all together and things like this. Those people that, seem like they're super expanded in consciousness, they too have to take time to come back into their body. Yeah. I think that's some of the distortions that I kind of notice sometimes, is we focus on wanting, all these things, outside of us. But if you just really come back into the body and just really focus on the 7th dimensional framework of your chakra system and the organic organs, everything, you'll get to those states much faster, because you're able to integrate your intuition, and the intuition often guides you to going deeper within yourself and clearing out all of the gunk that you hold deep in the subconscious, that you hold deep in the lower chakras, and you can't really get to those higher levels until you kind of clear yourself out on that cellular level.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody's teasing me in the chat here. Renee says that means no more beaver tails. Do you know what beaver tails are? Have you ever heard of that term?
I have no clue.
It's a Canadian pastry. And so anyways, I did a video last week saying that, okay, I was indulging for this day because I've been on this really, really fast track of improving my body. But that day I just realized I wanted to go meditate by the water, and I saw this beaver tail truck. I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat something that's good for the soul today, not necessarily good for my body. So anyways, it's kind of like, I think you guys call them elephant ears, maybe in the States. You have something similar to this. At any rate, it's just a pastry, but yeah, not so good for the body. There's a lot of sugar in there, but it was really, really good. I have to admit. Okay, let's get back on track here. Grid keeping. Let's start with what it is.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so grid keeping it's like a level of ascension and awareness and consciousness that you get to as you embody more of your higher self aspects. As you kind of start to access celestial consciousness and planetary consciousness. This is really encoded in the Indigo children and in the starseeds to kind of, step in and walk in that mission. Do I have an echo a little bit? I didn't use my microphone today because I wanted to make sure we didn't have an echo.
You sound good. Keep going on this side. It sounds good. Yep.
But yeah, so essentially, what's kind of happening is, Indigo children and starseeds have been incarnating in waves. And this has been happening over hundreds of years to really kind of embody those higher spiritual missions. Some of those can kind of look like the twin flames or like the 144,000. And it's basically kind of to reclaim the Christos missions here during the ascension cycles. And so it's those who are kind of incarnated already with that 6th strand of DNA activated, or those who have rehabilitated it. So you can become a grid keeper and gatekeeper, even if you don't think you were that. You probably always were, but in somehow, some way you kind of fell, or you didn't actually recognize, or the DNA was tampered and kind of capped you at a certain level of ascension capacity or awareness or intelligence. So maybe you just aren't aware that that's already kind of inscribed in your blueprint. And so then again, it becomes that process of kind of decoding yourself to kind of embody those higher missions and things like this. And so, yeah, it really kind of takes the 6th DNA strand to come online, 6 to 12 strands of DNA, and embodying planetary consciousness, where you then sync your universal tree of life with the planetary universal tree of life. And then you become more in tune with the Stargate signets, the Stargate sites, You become more in tune with the sacred sites, the ley lines, the axial tonal lines in your body and how they kind of sync up with the grids. And so you just start naturally and innately being called to sacred sites all over the world, looking into following the geometry, following the wormholes of these things, and just kind of start diving in to either get to the sacred sites and actually activate yourself with the codes. Because once you kind of wake up to that embodiment, like, I'm a grid keeper, I'm a gatekeeper, you know, I'm meant to kind of walk the Indigo 1 type mission, which is to live ethically on the Earth's grid. So if you're an Indigo type 1 and you're a grid keeper, you will innately and naturally just kind of be called to move around. You'll live, and one way you can see that is if you look upon your life and you look back at maybe the life path you chose in terms of your career or something like this. You may have chose something where you travel a lot, or you may be kind of like a nomadic type lifestyle, or you may be someone who just enjoys traveling all the time. This would be indications that you would be a grid keeper. Or holding that Indigo type 1 template within your blueprint. Starseed template, things like this. And so what you kind of do as a grid keeper is you go to the sacred sites, you get the activations, you get the initiation codes. And it's not just you're going there to get them. You're being called there because you also hold something as well. You hold like a key, or you hold like an aspect of that could shift that grid or that frequency and kind of open portals and just bring through higher intelligence fields here into the earth. Also assist higher 5th dimensional incarnating souls from higher dimensional fields from Tara and things like this. It just kind of depends what you're in tune to in terms of your mission and your psychic abilities and the galactic, you know, genetic imprint that you have within you to be doing these things. But yeah, so essentially it's an exciting starseed mission. It's an exciting aspect of your spirituality because it really promotes liberation and freedom and a higher global mindset of information.
Sorry, I wanted to add to that too. And maybe you can speak about this in your experience with the audience, but I felt that doing this type of work, especially in the last maybe 4 or 5 years ago, around 4 or 5 years ago, I felt that not only was I going to these sites to get some activations from the sites, I was also somehow exchanging information from maybe other sites that were now residing within me, like in keys, and I was also delivering those keys into those sacred sites. How do you see that communication going in your experience, the back and forth there?
Of the information that you're taking from one site to another?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in terms of being like a grid keeper, like what you're doing is we're kind of creating like a network from one stargate to another. So today I was going to focus on some of the descending aspects of the grids today, but this is actually a very like higher, more positive, you know, aspect way to look at it. Essentially is where we're creating like a bridge or an umbrella of light of arcs, and we are kind of considered the arcs of that encodement and that information. And so when we're bringing those initiation codes to one gate site to another, we're exemplifying or illuminating that arc. That is really what is the higher purpose of this and the guardianship of this. That is to, you know, anchor the light here and to assist humanity and protect humanity. You know, with all of the multi-cosmic functionings of creation, the 1,000 aspects of creation that are happening at these specific sacred sites. That was something I wanted to talk about today, was there are specific sacred sites here that are pretty much untouchable by the negative agendas. They can try to hijack these sites all day long if they want to, but they just literally cannot do it because they are so high in vibrational frequency. And the encryption there is really to anchor in the chiliocosm. I'm quoting this word from the Keys of Enoch in the J.J. Hurtek book, but it's basically a description of they function off of a set of anchoring in thousands of multidimensional aspects of cosmic creation at those gate sites, which brings in the highest incarnations here on this earth. And so places like the Yucatan, places like Giza in Egypt, places like the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is incredible. I get excited about that because there's just so much light energy there, and it's really operating off of the golden ring of fire and all of these like higher triunal light ultra frequency spectrums that really just is what kind of powers the entire grid. It is the highest frequency and the fastest frequency that navigates across the entire Earth. And so all of the negative agendas, I've been talking about the little black cube spaceships and of Saturn that report back to the rings of Saturn and all of this. Like they like to go and kind of monitor these places, but they can't actually fully tamper these locations, essentially. But yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. And in terms of those grid sites that are untouchable, I found an experience where if you took something from that site, whether a rock or a crystal, or even if you brought a crystal, attuned it to that specific site, you can then bring that crystal to another sacred site and give those properties of protection from one site to another site. This is actually what's happening in this picture here, and I wanted to share that with the audience. I've talked about this in many shows before, but speak about that in your work, in all the places that you've been around the world, if you've used some of this technique, maybe to use something that is encoded or quantum entangled with one sacred site to bring it to another site. How do you do that work?
Well, honestly, I haven't really done a lot of that. A lot of my stuff has been like telepathic encodement or like electrical imprint encodement. And so everything, I just see my body as the crystal. And so I feel like I'm holding all of the data. But I mean, when I go to sacred sites, I will work with particular crystals primarily that are encoded to that land geographical area, because that's what's going to help me encode as the crystal. I mean, I can see it the way you're explaining it too, that you can also work with it that way as well. There's, a multi-dimensional spectrum of how to do this type of stuff.
Yes, and the fact that we have these different examples or experiences or practices, some of the viewers will say, oh, that one fits with me, or this one fits with me. And then they'll get the idea of maybe downloading more of this information. And this is why I wanted to bring that up, or I'm guided to bring that up. It's because for a lot of people, nobody's going to explain to them how to do this. They're just going to start intuitively knowing. So if you're feeling on doing something, it's probably right, right? Just go with your gut feeling here, because you're getting help from universe. This information is coming down to you. It's just a matter of you unlocking it and understanding it and then taking action with it. What do you have to say to that?
That's exactly correct. I mean, everyone kind of has their own way in which they do it. Everybody's energetic blueprint is completely different. It's completely unique, just like the thumbprint. That's how our energetic signatures are. And so we're all kind of guided in a different way. We've all, those of us who feel that we are, starseeds and indigos and grid keepers, we carry more of this eternal sacred consciousness where we, really connect into the spirits of the land, connect into the deities, connect into the ancient cultures, because it's not separated from us. We are one with that. And so there's a multitude of emanations in way creation and source wants to express ourselves through us doing the grid work and visiting the sacred sites and sharing the encodement between all of the sites and things like that.
Awesome. Okay. Now you sent me quite a few graphics here for the show today. Where do you want to start to continue this conversation here?
We can go to the grid that I had sent you first and foremost. It's the one that I kind of chart. I always chart my own grids when I come on the show, and even when I do my own cosmic grid updates, because it's just the easiest way for me to define what it is I'm trying to describe. But I kind of just want to talk about the planetary mechanics as a whole, kind of how you can kind of see it, and then kind of dive into some of the more intricate aspects of things that would define some of the descending aspects that are taking place right now. Okay.
You have the steering wheel. Let me know where you want to go.
You have the link to the map? I think I put it in the email.
That's the second one with the Lake Michigan one? Is that the one?
No. So I resent that email, and then I have the link to my black grid map. It's in the email. I sent like a embedded copy link.
Scribble maps. Okay, sorry, I missed
Yeah.
that one. Okay,
Yeah,
I have it here.
that's okay.
I believe it's this one. So let me bring that up for the audience. Is this it?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can zoom in there to the United States.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on here? Control. No, close this. Okay, there you go. Okay. So about this way.
So I kind of like to think of the globe. It's this multifunctional, multi-vortex, multi-network, etheric and matrixy system. It's all interconnected. It's all living. It's all connected to the next thing. And so we've had a lot of negative agendas and a lot of intruder types, that the controllers, the invisible controllers, the theys, the not sees, that have come and kind of tampered with the organic aspects of the energetic mechanics here on the earth. And so I think on the previous show that I did with you, I was talking a lot about the beast machines. Do you recall when I was talking about the beast machines? And I was talking about the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. I was talking about the Kaaba, and I was talking about the Eye of Sahara.
Yes. I believe that was 2 shows ago, no? Because the last one was about the Denver International Airport, I think. Yeah, so 2 shows ago, yes.
Yeah. So these are some areas that I've just kind of narrowed into to kind of look at the global tampering or the global collective spiritual mechanics that kind of tune into the grids and work off of the organic functioning to tap into certain systems that kind of pump collective reality fields, and kind of try to control those matrices in which, idealisms, perceptions, and just also the biology of humanity, everything, right? They're kind of tampering in and kind of, altering these things through these particular gate sites that have been hijacked. Not all of them are organic stargates. Some of them are man-made stargates and vortexes that they utilize to implement these things. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the Kaaba. I kind of see the Kaaba as like a generator of the beast machine on some level. Mm-hmm. Okay, everything pumping west, everything going west. That Western current, that Western flow that we feel, really I was kind of picking up was because of the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is where, not saying that's a part of any type of negative agenda, that's kind of a part of an organic thing that's happening, but essentially that is where the Ouroboros nature of our planet is kind of pulling energy, because the plate tectonics are kind of going into one another, and it's in a constant state of rotation, regeneration within the landmass energy itself. Okay, so I kind of see those low field frequencies, those low field energies are being pumped from the war zones on the planet. It's kind of being pumped from those man-made stargates or those tampered fields. And it's kind of really impacting the United States grid. This is why we have the J seals that are implanted on that 70 degree west vertical ley line. This stems from the Jehovah Anunnaki. This stems from the Atlantean timeline, the fall of Atlantis, from Luciferian rebellion, the Holocaust, all of these things. Because remember the last time I was talking about the Bermuda Triangle being this possibly artificial location, right? Like it's like a decoy Atlantis in that area, okay? Really all of these things kind of feeding like black wormhole matrices and things like this.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so basically, so I want to talk about the descending grids. So the descending grids do consume and feed and generate to these other mechanical energetic systems in the earth grids. And like I said, several gates are being used for those exchanges. What I want you to know is every grid cell on the earth at this time has kind of been energetically assigned for the last 500,000 years for the controller matrices or the invisible controllers. Because again, I've been asked these questions, like, can you tell us who's controlling? Can you tell us exactly who's involved? I can only tell you like who's in participation on a galactic level. The galactic aspect of it are kind of like handlers to these things. Okay. And then there's like human aspects of it, like the big tech handlers and things like this that are propagating, like, you know, YouTube, social media platforms, things like this, the government, Willy Wonka, whatever, they're all kind of feeding into those systems. But essentially, so they're kind of controlling the descending grid locations and in a unique way that really affects people, society, starseeds, indigos. It's impacted the demographic and the genetic trail in a multitude of declining ways. So some descending grids feed wormhole matrices that power and generate back to the black hole system. Some feed the dark lords on Saturn, Venus, the moon, the Plutonian, Plutoxy overlords, the planetary archons, Saturn being one of the most powerful, impacting the control matrices on Earth. Some feed the recycle systems here, so the harvesting of souls. Some communicate directly to and from the seal matrices, coordinating timeline programs to run and traumas and triggers to run into the collective pain bodies to activate things that we see, like the Salem witch hunts, you know, the choline and the termination, things happening down in the Lone Star State. These are propagated, okay? And they come through the face of the Republican aspect of things, but these are low field frequencies and programs that run through the grids, that are running through the United States as we speak. And some of these actually bleed out and infringe upon human rights, and, you know, the biochemical warfare that we see. And what happens is it becomes increasingly more or less politically, socially, economically unstable. And so the grids kind of, because of this, there are symptoms that happen from this negative vibration that's amplified, you know, and so it's reflecting through the communities. And so this is where we see, you know, high pollution, high corruption, high poverty. This is where we see places that are riddled with crime, bankruptcy, high homelessness, drugs, you know, these places where we have high suicide rates, all of these things. So on my last Cosmic Grid update, I kind of created this grid. So if you want to like zoom into the United States of America, I did kind of highlight the states that I feel were holding the highest count of these descending cell programs within them. New York City, California being some of the states that are holding the highest counts of these areas that are in descending grids. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Keep going. Wow.
Okay. And so
just so you know, just hold on a second here too. Folks, if you rewind maybe 3 or 4 minutes, Indigo was telling you where all of this negergy was going. She talked about Saturn, the moon matrix, and all these things. We need to do a show on exactly that at some point and discuss who these people are. You call them the Dark Lords on Saturn. Like, we need to get there because a lot of people now on the show and in this awakening process, they're awakening to the cons, right? But they're awakening to the low-level cons, the politics, the left versus right, the religion stuff, but these are all, at this point, that's like moving chairs on the Titanic. We need to, as humans, we need to understand the bigger picture of why all of these small cons are happening, but we can't get tripped into dealing and focusing all of our times on the small con. We have to understand the bigger picture. And this is why this conversation with Indigo here is absolutely important today. But we will go back. So today is focused on this grid stuff, but we'll go back and talk about who all of these people are, because the moment we point at them and we see them and we look at them, we remove a lot of their power. And global consciousness together, understanding who we are and what's happening to us, has much more power than we think we do. So this education here is very, very important. So a big thank you to you, Indigo. Okay, keep going on this grid thing.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you're absolutely right with that. It's about making the unconscious or the unseen seen. And that's why I've been using the terms just like invisible controller or the Nazis, so you cannot see them, right? And that's because they are carrying such high planetary archontic identity that they're not actually kind of on the same frequency as humans. This is why we can't actually see them. These are like the people behind the people of who we think are kind of running the show.
Yeah.
And this is all energetic, this is all quantum, and they're absolute planetary geniuses, because what they've done is they've capped the planetary grid mechanics and have learned how to siphon areas that they can hijack. That's why I'm saying places like the Ring of Fire and the Yucatan, they can't really like completely fully hijack, because these Stargate sites here are so powerful. They're so immense. Like the natural resources and the spirits that live within the natural resources, the volcanic gods, they do not allow it. And so they have to come in and kind of use areas that they can actually, hijack through heightened states of plasma and things like this. That's why the Kaaba is such a place that is so, I feel hijacked, because it's functioning off lower field belief systems of humans and the quantum and the plasma that they generate off of that. When I was trying to remote view into that location, like I felt like that black cube was literally toxic radiation. Like I needed to wear EMF protection when I was looking into that, because I could feel it weakening my energetic magnetic field. And so it's actually weakening the entire sphere or dome of that landmass biomagnetic field that's around it, because there are these so you can actually pull up that picture that I was talking about that we were trying to find the author to.
Oh yes, hold on a second here, and I want to ask the audience maybe to help me out with this one here. Okay, so this is the map. This one here, Indigo?
Yeah, so you said you kind of knew who drew this up. I had this passed along to me from a friend, but I wanted to use this picture just because I felt like it kind of exemplified the magnetic domes that are all over the grids. So you can't but there's like these little dots up at the top. I think it's by like Greenland. There's like a larger circle that goes around from the magnetic north. And this is kind of the larger magnetic dome that kind of goes over the entirety of it. But within that, there are smaller circular magnetic spheres that emanate around, and then even smaller ones that are located within that. And so it's a process of them coming in and trying to tamper, while ultimately tampering with the magnetic North Pole, which I do feel is actually happening within the Dracos and what the Draco Archontic hybrids are doing here, because what they do is they place seals and they go in and tamper with the field. And so what I've come to understand is they've placed seals and branded. They do something called planetary branding, where they use iron and they actually brand it into the Earth's grids. Well, they've branded and done this down at the South Pole, which is where they alter the not seas, alter the magnetic North Pole manipulation. They're either trying to alter it. And the reason why I've come to this conclusion is because of the wavering of the magnetic North Pole. Because if you look at other planetary systems, there's not like this wavering of the magnetic north field. It's kind of stationary and cohesiveness with the South Pole. Well, here we have this so it alludes to this artificial tampering that could be taking place. They're taking down, either propagating pole shift to happen, or actually trying to slow the process down, because it is a natural process that's supposed to be happening here every 24 to 36,000 years here on the Earth, something like that. And so this first and foremost, if that's being tampered, that's immediately going to tamper that outer, larger sphere of the magnetic field that's over all of the landmass and all of the countries and all of, everything that we have going on here that impacts the smaller spheres down into the smaller spheres, getting into the intricacy and the subatomic aspect of those magnetic emanation of hierarchy within the landmass. And so, yes. And so, well, they're trying to break down grids in certain areas in the United States, because they actually hold the highest counts of starseeds and indigos, because we are the ones that are most under attack by this, because we are the ones that are impacted the most by a weakening magnetic field, because of our genetic makeup and our genetic ascendancy here. And so the controllers, they're aware of these things. And this is why they're trying to, jab everybody. They want to keep us suppressed and limited, and also sick and weaken in a weakened state, so that we can't really rise up in our empowerment, and we can't actually realize what's happening here. Right. Things like that.
Yeah, very good. And folks, if you can help me out, there's indication here, Peter Shampoo, 2014 on the map. This is not where I saw this map the first time, and I was trying just before the show here to find the original source for this, and it might not have been the original source, but at least the original place I found it. And I believe the gentleman's name was William. So that's my first indication. He was an ex-Navy retired either commander or captain. And when he was working for the Navy, he was working on secret projects to basically grid underwater ley lines and also portals. So this is some of the work he was doing in the Navy. And when he retired, he started talking about these things. And he also was talking about, I want to say the Rochelle ley line. It's not on the map here. So anyways, if you guys know who I'm talking about, put it in the chat, because I'd like to find his original website. This person died, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago in a very important astrological marker. He was in his 80s or 90s. So anyways, those are the clues I have for you right now. 80s or 90s. I believe his first name was William, and a retired Navy commander or captain. And he was doing a lot of grid keeping, and he was working with the Dakota tribe, and I forget which other Native American tribe, on what he called the starseed bundles, and how a lot of these tribes were holding this knowledge. Exactly what Indigo is downloading now and telling us is happening. These are actually here in written form, and they've been explained to us by people from other places. And anyways, some of our tribes are holding this information. So if you guys know who I'm talking about, and I believe perhaps Carrie Cassidy interviewed this individual, again, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And Indigo and I were saying, she's interviewed everybody, so that's not that big of a hint.
She has.
But at any rate, if you guys know who we're talking about, please put it in the chat.
She's absolutely incredible at that. I mean, there will be people that I would want to interview, and then I'll like go start looking for them, and I'll see that she's already interviewed them, and I'm like, how did she do that?
She's been at this for quite some time. You have to give her credit for sure.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to be able to dive into this, because this is obviously very extensive what he's decoded here. Yes.
Yes, and why don't we go, and I don't know if you want to get into this Colorado Center. This Kachina, I'm on this Kachina ley line, absolutely right dead smack on it. And I remember seeing this, I'm like, oh, okay, that rings a bell, because that portal I just showed you, the other picture, is on this ley line, and it connects to some of the very important portals here in North America, but around the planet as well. At any rate, okay, let's move on from here. Do you want to go to some of your next slides? Where do you want to go?
Well, you know, I actually just emailed you another picture. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of relevant. Okay. Just to kind of show a few things I want to kind of mention in terms of descending geographical areas and things like this, and energetic resources. Okay,
hold on. Oh, yes, this one here. Okay, open in a new tab. Hold on, folks. I'm doing this live. Download this one here. Okay, this one here, Indigo?
Yeah, so this one was just a picture that kind of represented natural resources. You can kind of see the red is like population center. And so you can see how it's, you know, the largest red circles are Los Angeles and Manhattan area, New York City. Also in Michigan, you know, down in Florida, parts of coastal areas of Texas. These would definitely be where we have the most descending grids, where we're going to see the most symptoms of those descending grids, and where we're going to see the most weakened magnetic fields, and where we see starseeds and indigos being impacted the most in terms of even ascension symptoms and things like this, because the grid isn't actually kind of serving your light body field anymore. And so it's breaking it down. And so it kind of starts with a couple ascension symptoms. And then before you know, you have like 10, you have like 12, and you're realizing like, I feel like I'm being poisoned. Like I need to relocate, you know, I need to get somewhere that's going to serve my light body field energetically. And so those red dots kind of exemplify that. Within that though, it kind of shows like which, organic resources are the most exemplified there. So where it's yellow, it's mostly solar. Where it's green, it's mostly wind and solar. So these are the elemental energetic ways in which you're going to benefit from the landmass. And then up in the northern states, it's more hydraulic and fossil resources and things like this. But I just thought that was kind of a good thing to kind of show that. But you can,
Sue is asking, hey, JC, do we have access to these graphics? No, I haven't thought about that. But next time when Indigo is back and I create the notes page for you guys, I'll go and dump the graphics on that page also for you guys. That's a good idea. Thank you for that, Sue. And somebody else was saying, hey, are you talking about William Tompkins? No, although William Tompkins would fit the bill in terms of the age and the Willie part. No, it's not him. It's another guy. So thank you for that. And I wanted to do this book decode too. I have the second and third, I believe, of Selected by Extraterrestrials by William Tonkin. That's going to be for another show a little bit later on here. But thank you for that, Chemo. But no, not the same William. All right, keep going, Indigo.
Yes. So we could talk about some of the areas specifically. So if you want to go back to my other map, the one that I draw it myself. It's easier for me to kind of speak from that one.
Okay.
So I've been talking a lot about these seals, right? I feel like I'm always talking about the seals, and I almost feel like just a crazy person, just like, there's Draco seals in the grids, you guys, wake up, like, like, I really feel like I'm kind of stepping out and like the loony aspects of spirituality, just like shooting, like saying all this stuff.
You sound crazy, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. People tell me that all the time too. So
everyone thinks I'm cuckoo.
You're in good company.
Okay, awesome. With this planetary branding, so one thing I've been talking about are Baphomet seals. So I do feel Baphomet seals are branded into the grids in the United States. Locations you can see this are Detroit, Michigan. So if you want to zoom into Michigan, I put like a little coin on it, and I put the coin there because that's an area that took a turn in for bankruptcy. And what happened is they brought the Baphomet statue to Detroit, and in 2015, the city filed the largest bankruptcy suit in United States history, and then took a big decline or dissension. And I do believe that the city has definitely had, difficulty in coming back from this. So it's still very much in a deep, dark, one-dimensional, two-dimensional, astral type reality dome within the city there. And so this is one place that Baphomet seal has been encoded into the grids. Now, I think there's a lot more to this that we are not seeing. And the reason I think this is because I had a lot of people actually put my last update out. They were telling me how there is like a Bermuda Triangle formation in Lake Michigan. And then at the bottom of that, there's actually like a Stonehenge underwater. So it's almost eluded me to believe like there's a reason they're capping our greatest landmass into the Great Lakes, because the Great Lakes would be such an organic place of high frequency. This is where, people could really come to heal. Michigan should be our Atlantis, if you want to really look at it. Like, if you think about how it goes into the Great Lakes, I mean, this should be a landmass that's definitely very high vibrational frequency with a lot of healing, a lot of high encodement that comes through here. But why has it been tampered with so degradationally? So, it's been dematerialized. And I feel like it's because they're not wanting us to tap into energetic resources of the Great Lakes, like I said, with the Stonehenge circular aspect at the bottom of Lake Michigan, or there's domes underneath the lake.
Do I have a link for that? Like, where on Lake Michigan are you pointing to? Did you send me a graph for that one?
Yeah. Well, I sent you some pictures, and I sent you a link.
Okay, I just found it. Hold on. No, first one. This one here. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So those would be the points in which this Bermuda Triangle. Now, I do think that this triangle, in terms of ley lines, maybe one of the lines of the triangle actually encodes to the actual Bermuda Triangle. So it's carrying this like magnetic current from Lake Michigan down to the actual Bermuda Triangle itself, because a lot of mysterious things have happened here. Same types of stories we hear about the Bermuda Triangle, pilots going down, people, planes crashing, just unfortunate events, mysterious, unfortunate events happening here.
Yeah.
And then also I haven't really decoded what that Stonehenge formation is at the bottom there, like what it actually means or where it came from, what type of information on this, but I want to start diving deeper into that. I have a picture of it that I sent you in the email. It's like a black background, and it has rings. It has concentric circles.
There you go.
Yeah. So whether this is being used for positive or negative agendas, I've yet to really decode. I am finding that the concentric circle formations are being used for both positive and negative agendas.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
so,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps for another show we can do a deep dive on this one.
Yeah.
Literally dive into this one. Okay.
Literally. We'll show up in our Scuba Steve outfits.
Right, exactly. I'm a good diver. I don't know how deep this one is, though. Michigan can be quite deep. I'm not sure where this one goes. All right.
But there's other places in the grids that are holding the Baphomet seal. Also Washington, D.C. So if you want to go back to my map and zoom into Washington, D.C., you'll have to really zoom in because it's kind of small.
Here, hold on here. I'm getting there. Okay.
So you can see within the streets, within the asphalt, you can even see the street lines, how they actually kind of decoded this upside down pentacle, which is like the Baphomet geometry.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the pinnacle point of the pentacle being the White House and then all of the other locations within that. Forget what those locations are called, but I could look it up really quick. Yeah, so it would be
DuPont Circle,
Mount Vernon Square, Washington Circle. Several groups believe that left point of an upside down star or demonic pentagram starts at Washington Circle. The cul-de-sacs east of the Capitol from the ears are also a bunny as well. Something has to do with the bunny. But yeah, so this is this is what I'm talking about, this planetary branding. I wouldn't be surprised if underneath that asphalt, that symbolism is branded in iron, because iron is how they brand the landmass to run the encoding to basically send off these artificial and unnatural frequencies to distract and send chaotic frequency into the organic structures and things like this. And also that pentacle or the Baphomet seal is at the core of the Federal Reserve. So this is at the core of our monetary system. This is at the core of our wealth. Hang on, I can tell you more about this. And hang on.
No problem.
I just have to pull up my seal information because I thought I didn't send that to you.
Okay. And while Indigo is looking for that, folks, please do go and subscribe here to Indigo Angel on YouTube. She is at 4,930, growing strong here. And also, you can find her work at indigoangel222.com. And there we'll talk about maybe some of these readings, especially for those grid keepers out there who are wondering what their missions are with respect to these grid keepings, and perhaps how a starseed reading can help you out figure that stuff out. So we'll get to that here a little bit later into the show. Okay, Indigo, back to you.
Okay, so the Baphomet seal, the seal was placed at the time of the Templars, and it was established money lending from the treasures of Solomon, as Baphomet was the idol in which was worshipped to germinate the lands and made them rich. The symbol of the skull and bones was laid across the seal. This seal has been sustained through the continuation of the Freemasons, secret societies, fraternities, sororities, institutionalized indoctrination feeding systems that have continued to worship Baphomet, holding the seal in the planetary grid. So it's basically implanted into the organic biology a lot of times through like fraternities and sororities and things like this. This is an unconscious, unseen, untold, unheard of thing that these people are just introduced to through their indoctrination. But then they uphold that in their biology and implement the energy that seal carries.
It's so pervasive. It's mind-boggling, like the depth of which we're being messed with, right? Like, it's just like down to your cellular level, basically. It's incredible. Wow.
I know. It is incredible. It's just all, it's all unconscious. It's all held within the unconsciousness of humanity. And so that's why I'm like running around talking about all this. I was like, we gotta expose it. We gotta bring light to this stuff. And it gets jumbled up in all kinds of human details and misconception and belief systems, that haven't been deprogrammed. And so when people are holding specific belief systems and they come into this information, they honestly can't even integrate it because it's holding a different dimensional encoding that doesn't actually fit the dimensional field in which they can understand. And so often it's rejected and it is displaced, and it's, they either want to destroy it, they don't want to hear it, or there's a level of cognitive dissonance because it's not fitting within the artificial holographic deck that they've created with all of the people around them that are carrying the belief systems as them. They're existing through an artificial sea foam of artificial thoughts. And so this is actually what is happening in those descending grid cells is people are living within artificial magnetic bubbles of reality and only calling in people with the same shared belief systems. And the unawakened people within those can actually live side by side to descending grid cells and actually not even see it. It's completely invisible to them. They can't see it at all.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense to me. Wow, that's fascinating how you're tying all of this together. Okay. Let's see what's next here. Did I go through all the slides you gave me? Oh, wait. Let's talk about this one here.
Salem, Massachusetts, really quick. Salem, Massachusetts.
You want me to go back here?
Yeah, Salem. I get excited because I'm like, oh, wait, one more thing. Salem, Massachusetts also is carrying the Baphomet seal as well. That's where the actual statue is located.
Okay, let me see if I can zoom in here. Salem. And of course, you were talking about these witch hunts earlier in the show. There you go.
Yes. So this is where they basically emit the low field frequencies to run the trigger bodies of the collective, okay? Run it into the grids.
Did I go too far here? These are the points, right?
Yeah, that's the point. I didn't have anything to actually chart, just other than to put a point of where the statue was. But it's in Salem, Massachusetts.
So there's another Baphomet in Salem? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
So those are 3 locations that I've decoded. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Baphomet locations across the United States that I just haven't found yet. So if anyone knows or is onto something, drop it in the comments, let us know. So that way we can decode more of the Baphomet seal. But those would be the 3 main locations: Detroit, Salem, Washington, D.C. And I kind of feel like these are generation points that actually emit from the J seals themselves as well, because they run the trauma. They run that trauma to reintegrate into the collective grid field, to propagate these Salem witch hunts and these types of things, to run the trauma body, to kind of get a chaotic response from the humans, from the people, basically. And so
incredible.
It also ties into the Vatican seal as well. The Vatican seal has a lot to do with our reproduction, and that's where a lot of this stuff with the culling laws, I'm calling it, or the termination laws, kind of come from, is trying to control incarnation, trying to control our reproduction, and trying to separate us from source. By having these seals of confession, by placing priesthood between you and God, by placing idols between you and God, and things like this. And
you just mentioned something about reproduction and children. Say that again. For the oh my God, something's stopping me from saying it. Maybe we shouldn't go there. Okay, just keep going on what you're saying.
Right. Well, I just put a video out on my channel called Salem Witch Hunts, and I was fired up. Like, my hydra was on. I had my 9 heads going. I was pretty passionate when I was talking about this stuff, because it is something that is just, it's very passionate within me to speak about. And I was talking about how they are basically using the Vatican seal. So it's a seal that's actually in the biology, and it's from the causal chakra, because they don't want you to actually tap into the spiritual kingdom that would give you that ability to, tune into your higher self, into God consciousness and omnipresence and things like this. They tie it down with the ropes, and they tie it to the ovaries and to the testes. You can actually see it in the papal coat of arms on the Vatican seal itself, if you want to look that up. It's called the seal of confession. And so it comes through the religious spiritual egregores of the Templar seals within the J seals. It's kind of confusing, I know that is, to say all that. But essentially, they insert this to disconnect people from being able to, I believe it's where they go back and actually disassemble the fourth strand of the DNA, and they go back and disallow you from being able to have connection to your previous ancestry back 3 to 5 years, and they install these traumas there. So they're traumas that they install back into the genetic inheritance of your generational ancestry. So when you're having these reproduction traumas and the Salem witch hunts, these are all exasperations and symptoms of these seals. But essentially this goes back generationally to traumas that you actually can't identify in your Akashic field. You can't identify in your Akashic record. So you can't actually go back and heal the traumas. And this is how they keep propagating those wounds to go into the next generation, into the next generation, of the next generation.
We could do a whole show on that. So let's keep that in mind. Yeah, because I know what I wanted to say, but yeah, well, maybe we'll have to do this on the uncensored server for now, because there's a lot attached to that, and we might get in trouble here. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a great topic for the audience. Well, at least part of the audience. As we're waking up, we have to look at these things, even though they're difficult to look at. So, okay.
Yeah, they are. And it's difficult to talk about because these are all really fresh within the trauma body of the collective.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you start really diving into this stuff. This is triggering up the deepest core wounds in people, and the deepest core memories, past life traumas that literally are, it's deep, and I feel for people, because I know these distortions aren't necessarily all their fault. When you incarnate through a gate system that's carrying the subconscious encoding to that distortion, you're going to be imprinted with that previously into before you're even born.
Yeah. I said this in the show the other day. It kind of colors the way you interpret and go through life, at a deep core level. So even before the schooling and the programming and all of that stuff, you're already kind of ingrained to feel things or to relive things a certain way. Wow. Yeah. Again.
Well, and I want to bring this up too, because I feel this is important. Within those descending grid cells, how they're tampering the magnetic field, and people are living in those descending sites, star seeds, all of our homeless population. We have 580,000 homeless people, unsheltered homeless people in the United States, economic refugees here, right? These are star seeds. These are indigos. These are people that their magnetic field got tampered and got affected so bad by the negative forces that they actually can't live in society. Okay. And we, these are the people that we, look down upon and say they're drug addicts and they're prostitutes and all of these things. It's no, they did not receive the support needed to actually survive here in this tampered world. Their genetic strands were not able to withstand it. So we're the lucky ones, right? We're the ones that we're managing through this poison. We're managing.
Right.
But these grids being tampered with disallow people from coming into union with their fifth dimensional incarnates. This disallows people from being able to, because of these traumas back in the Akashic field. This goes back to Lemuria with the Aeoni tribes and the Esaoni tribes, when the fifth dimensional masculines were taken and they were executed, and the women were taken for forced breeding programs on Nibiru and forced like cattle to procreate for reptilian children. Okay, these are wounds back in the Akashic record that all get stimulated again through those seals, through those grid lines, through those low field frequencies. And here we are running around worrying about termination laws, not realizing that this goes back to not being able to bring fifth dimensional incarnates into this world.
Right. Man, we
Sorry,
can.
I get fired up.
I love
Because
it.
it's
I love your
like,
passion. That's amazing. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that, and you were channeling that like very precisely here for the audience, and there's a reason for it. So there's probably people in here who needed to hear this. So thank you. That's absolutely amazing. And again, these are the conversations here we need to have moving forward, because I'm trying to. I want to give the audience what they want, but I would prefer to give them what they need. So put it that way, right? So these conversations are what we need. It's not always what we want, because we don't know what we want. We think we want something, but what we need is much more important, especially now as we're turning into this age of Aquarius, the knowledge holder. So, wow, fascinating, Indigo.
yeah.
All right.
And I want to say, I find myself getting more and more serious in my content, and it's just because, like, I no longer can just go around and be like, oh, love and light. Like, as much as I want to bring hope and love in these beautiful messages, but it's like when you see everything that's happening and you see everything that's been done, it's like you get kind of sick and you just want to, just be real, just be like, here's the truth. And because truth is going to cut through all of the distortions at the end of the day. And people know when you're speaking truth to them because they feel it. It's a resonance inside them. It hits them like the core, like it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, especially now in these times too, because we also have the energies from space that are conducive to all of this too. Like they're helping us or they're boosting. And again, we're going into the age of knowledge here. I forgot to put this one earlier as we were talking about Washington, D.C., but you can clearly see the image there and how it relates to what we were talking here, the inverted pentagram in Baphomet. So that's really cool. Did I miss anything else? We did this one. Oh, this one. Let's finish on this one here. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like, I was just talking with like wanting to bring that hope and all of that. I wanted to talk about this grid because I felt like this is like a very positive grid. So this grid is the Dove grid. It's in the Book of Knowledge and the Keys of Enoch by J.J. Hurtak. And this grid actually represents spiritual basic truths. It's a heavenly aspect of Earth's history to be played out. It is a symbol of peace. It represents a return of a time of peace and renewal. And how you can see it is so the head actually goes, it's called the head of knowledge, and it goes over the Yucatan, where we have a triangular vortex system that's down in the Yucatan. And then the wings actually sweep across the danger zones of eastern and western flanks of North America. And so sweeping across those coastal cities where I'm telling you we're having like the highest degradation of starseeds and indigos, things like this. They said that this grid is supposed to come at a great time of exodus for many starseeds. So when many starseeds have really kind of like given up, they're ready to leave. You hear this all the time. Like starseeds say, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to leave Earth. Like I want to go back to where I'm from. They don't see the purpose of recycling here anymore. They feel like their mission is they've already done it,
Speaking of this great exodus, do you think that a lot of starseeds are taking the thing as an option to the way out here? And that's part of this exodus we're going to see that many people are seeing here for 2022, these mass numbers of people exiting the show. Do you think that's related also to them, or is that different maybe?
I think great exodus come in many different ways. I think, with the COVID, we've seen that. There was a lot of exodus that happened within that. I think a lot of people are also choosing to look deeper into the technologies of leaving and escaping the reincarnation system through navigating gate sites to actually get off planet through reincarnation. They're trying to decode this to a level of being able to actually escape this Saturn magnetic moon matrix that holds our souls and hosts our souls here and here for harvesting and loosh. And so I know many, many starseeds and those who are galactic intellists that are deep within the energy mechanics of these things to, use when their time comes for passing and things like this, that they are getting their ascension codes up as high as they can, and then embodying the technology so that way they're aware of these processes when the time comes, basically.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, and do you feel that we're close to having this particular apparition or formation here take place? How close do you think we are to this?
Good question.
Maybe for next week or for the next show. Okay, good. I know there's a lot going on here too, and we have these competing timelines. So right now, trying to guess anything is absolutely maybe a fool's errand because wow, there's so many things, and it's much. Again, just listening to this show, people are realizing that it's much more complicated than we think it is, and we already think it's complicated, but really, it's very pervasive and it goes very deep. Okay, Indigo, we're already a little bit running long here, so let's get to the audience members here who are interested in maybe getting into their specific soul mission, also as it pertains to grid keeping. What kind of programs do you have for them here to help them support them in that path?
Yeah, so first of all, I do the starseed origin reading. I always say that's a good place to start because it really helps to get familiar with your galactic inheritance. It's important because it gives you the encoding to dive deeper into your soul matrices to kind of understand your eternal nature and also to better understand your Akashic records and things like this. So I also offer the deep Akashic record reading. You can get those together or pair it in a platinum reading. And then I go into actually working more one-on-one with people with opening up their etheric body, getting their chakras completely cleared out. That's kind of the first step to kind of really even determining if you have the J seals, if you're kind of new to this stuff. Someone who's kind of been doing, energy work and, advanced ascension technologies and information intelligence, they might just kind of know whether or not this is something that's for them. But if you haven't really done that, get a deep 12th dimensional chakra clearing. Let me help you identify if you're carrying the J seals or the Draco Aryan occultist seals. And then you can go into seal removal after that if you're interested in that. Okay. And feel that it's right for you.
Okay. And Melanie says, wow, I've never heard this guest before. Mind blown. Yes, mind blown. So come back, hit that like button and share this video with your friends here because these are the conversations we're supposed to have. And just last but not least here, you do have a package also for the more advanced Beyond Mystic audience here. So let's talk about this, what's included here, and what is the coupon code for the audience.
Okay, so this would be the in-depth starseed origin reading. I do an hour with that to go over the reading and then an hour to remove the J seals. And so this package does have a coupon code. It's Beyond Mystic 3, all lowercase, that takes 10% off of a package that's already marked down 10%.
Okay, very good. And that's you're ready to rock with this one. Okay, and let's ask.
And I also wanted to mention, so tomorrow for 9/11 on my Patreon, patreon.com/Indigo Angel, I'm going to be hosting a group session where we basically kind of go into some of these tampered areas of the grids. We're going to be focusing primarily on New York City, the Twin Towers, the memorial sites, the Statue of Liberty. And then we're also going to focus on Afghanistan and Middle Eastern areas because that's all kind of related. It's kind of all one package energetically. And then just kind of go in as a group, do some remote viewing, do some anchoring light with modalities and certain tools that we have to use in terms of working in a psychic group setting. Yeah, we'll focus on healing too. So if anyone comes into the group that needs healing, we'll focus a little bit of time for healing.
So what time is that tomorrow? No, so that's on the 11th. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. I am doing that. I believe it's 5 or 6 o'clock. It's
Central Time?
Central Time, yes.
Okay, so folks have time here to go and register to your Patreon. And which program are they looking for if they want to access these live meditations with you? Which package do they need?
If they want to do just that group session, they would do the 11/11. That's going to get them access to that. That gets them access to all of my videos on my Patreon. And then if they want to actually get a starseed origin reading with that, they can do the next level up. But it's not a full reading, it's just the chart. And then if they wanted to do the next package up, it would come with one-on-one interactive sessions with me as well.
Okay, very good.
Once a month, yeah.
Okay, very good. Awesome. So that's patreon.com/Indigo Angel, and the link is up on the screen for you guys there now. Okay, wow. What a chock full information show this is today, Indigo. Really enjoyed that, and I hope the audience really enjoys that. And please, if you did, hit that like button. Whether you're watching on Indigo's channel or mine, please hit that like button, and also subscribe, support us, and let us know you like these shows so we can produce even more. And if you have other topics like this that you want us to dive into, please put that in the comments here below the video, and Indigo and I will review those for our next shows. So thank you so much, everyone. Please do go and subscribe again to Indigo Angel here on YouTube, and also to my backup channel here. Hold on a second. I'm trying to bring that back up on the screen for you guys. There you go. The third backup channel here, Jean-Claude and BeyondMystic and I. We're at 28,000 and such, and we just hit 1 million views on this brand new channel. Can you imagine that? How many people are watching the show, even though we're dealing with all of this amazing censorship. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support. And that was a Galactic Download with Indigo Angel. Meet us again here in 2 weeks from now, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Indigo. Have a great day. Au revoir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.